And we're live. Thanks everybody for joining. So my name's Eloise Sutton-Kirkby. I'm Director of Growth here at VINNY, the recruitment weapon for recruitment and staffing firms worldwide. So today we've got 25 minute session, and I'm going to be speaking to you about the rise of something interesting but potentially quite life-threatening to recruitment firms, the Frankenstack. So just to give you a bit of context, I speak to either customers or prospects who are typically recruitment firm owners or MDs globally all day long, every day. That's what I do. And typically firms between, say, 20 to about 500 consultants. And one thing that we've really noticed coming up in conversations, particularly this year, this crazy year of 2020, is that the tech stack that was once so alluring a few years ago, that tech stack has a dark side. And it's what happens when a tech stack becomes a debt stack and morphs into a Frankenstack. So how I'm going to structure today, we're going to start by thinking about what is a Frankenstack. Then we're going to look at some of the key problems that havoc that a Frankenstack can wreak. We're going to look at the 5 signs, the telltale signs of whether you have a Frankenstack or not. And then we're going to touch briefly at the very end on a couple of solutions and how VINNY might be able to help. Okay, so what is a Frankenstack? Quite simply, a Frankenstack's what happens when you have a mishmash of different technologies or systems or third-party vendors all kind of bolted together and butchered together like this wee chap here to give you a tech solution. Typically, they are poorly integrated tools. They don't have a two-way sync between them. And ultimately, a Frankenstack is a tech stack that is a monster that sucks you of time and money. It ultimately makes it very, very difficult for you to scale your recruitment business if you have a Frankenstack in place. Now, we've identified 3 main types of Frankenstacks. The first is what we would define as marketplace or partner-driven. Now, these are the CRMs where typically you'd buy the CRM first, and then you'd have to bolt in a number of third-party apps to kind of give you the marketing automation, pay and bill, analytics, or reporting. They can typically be quite expensive and quite tricky, actually, because you never really know the true cost when you're buying the system. It really kind of adds up and chips away at you over time. But I would say the marketplace partner-driven Frankenstack has probably been the most popular kind of Frankenstack that we've seen over the past few years. The second Frankenstack to watch out for is what we call the platform play. So typically this would be a Salesforce.com or Microsoft Dynamics platform play. Very attractive, quite seductive, I'd say. Just certainly during the sales process, particularly to larger companies. How they position themselves is anything is kind of possible with a platform play because really you can build on it and you can customize whatever you need. And that customization and services is typically provided by a partner. Can be good for the right companies, but can also be quite dangerous. And watch out for the C word, the customize word, which I think is the most dangerous word in recruitment technology. More of that later. The third Frankenstack that we've identified is the build your own model. So what we mean by this is, when you first started out in recruitment, it could have been 10, 20 years ago, you hired a developer to build you a basic system. Over the years, your business has evolved, the market's changed, your needs have changed. So what you've done is you've kind of bolted on or sticky taped on additional functionality, an arm, a leg, an eye, and what you've ended up with is something that might be functional but isn't great to use, and you're certainly not getting any upgrades on it. Really, you own the Frankenstack, or it owns you. You own all the problems of upkeep, maintenance. That third Frankenstack type can be a real dog if you want to migrate off of it. There can be lots of data integrity issues when you want to move. So there are your 3 kind of basic models of a Frankenstack. What's so bad about a Frankenstack, though, you might be thinking? Maybe you've got one of these Frankenstacks. Well, the ultimate problem with a Frankenstack is that it can really, if not kill your path to growth, it can certainly inhibit and slow you down. So I'm going to take you through some of the key problems that we see. This list is certainly not exhaustive, but I think there's some good nuggets in here, and hopefully I can give you some advice that could save you a lot of time and money. The first main issue with the Frankenstack that we see is all around customization. Now, we call this the C word, and I think it is really the most dangerous word to look out for. If a vendor is selling on customization, really, you should see red flags there straight away. What happens with customization is it's risky. If you're going to custom, and it's also a fool's paradise, really, because as a recruitment firm owner or director or buyer, you think you know what you want sometimes. So you'll say to your vendor, this is the customization that I want. And it can be a bit of a fool's paradise because many vendors will let you go down the customization route. It's a one-way trapdoor, because what it means is that you will be customized out or customized into a corner, and you won't get any of the regular upgrades that normal customers get on the roadmap. So I see this a lot, especially for bigger customers, 1, 2, 300 seats sort of range, where they've bought a platform, customized it to high hell, and the end result is a mess that no one enjoys using. They can't integrate with any off-the-shelf apps, and it's expensive to get away from. So what we would suggest is beware the customization route and go for the other C word instead, which is the configuration route. So Vincere and any decent SaaS provider won't let you customize yourself into a corner. Instead, they'll build a platform that's highly configurable. So you should be able to get most of what you want, 80, 90% of what you want, but about 20% of the cost, as you would on a Microsoft Dynamics or Salesforce kind of old school legacy customizable platform. The next thing to watch out for with Frankenstacks kind of feeds into the customization trap, actually. And this is to do with integration. So if you're customizing a platform, of course, you've got to make sure that it works with other systems that you're using across the business. So the integration, the onus of integration will typically fall on you. Integration, again, it's risky because it gets expensive. I mean, integration projects very rarely are delivered on time and in budget. You typically have to have in-house expertise to manage those integrations, which again can get expensive, or you have to go third party, again, step by invoice here. And when you're customizing a platform and you're integrating it with other systems, you own the problem, not the vendor, you. So if something goes wrong, all of that sits with you. Again, it's something that you want to be careful of when you're building out your Frankenstack. The third thing to watch out for, this is actually a favorite of mine, probably because I am a vendor, but this is the vendor blame game. So if you're opting for a Frankenstack that depends on you using lots of third parties or different apps, what happens if one of those integrations fails? Who do you blame? Which vendor? What this descends very quickly into is the vendor blame game, we call it. So, no, it's not my problem, it's your problem. Your API's got holes in it, and that's a really good one. But ultimately, what you'll find is that you as the customer, you'll just end up getting frustrated because do you really care whose problem it is? Really, it's your problem because you've got a tech stack that's not serving you. So this is something that we see again and again, and it's why we as a business are very particular about who we integrate with, because we've learned the hard way that you have to be working with other vendors who see it as a partnership and will really work with the customer's best interests at heart and get stuff sorted quickly. Okay. The fourth one that we've identified, and this is a killer one, is if you're building out a Frankenstack, typically what you'll be doing is you'll be buying a CRM, going out to their marketplace, plugging different systems in. It all sounds easy and it sounds quite attractive. What you'll find though is that Frankenstack will live or die on the quality of those marketplace integrations. It's very easy to say you've got an integration with an app. You can tick that box, but what's the quality of the integration? If it's just a one-way data push, it's meaningless, because if you are using systems and your tech stack doesn't share data seamlessly in a two-way sync, then you'll always be stuck with a manual intervention somewhere. And that's got to be done by a person. Typically it involves Excel So you'll always be stuck on Excel hell, and you'll never have that pipe dream of automation. When you attend conferences like this, you see a lot of sessions and there's a lot of talk about automation. But let me tell you now, if your tech stack doesn't work, all modules, native two-way sync, truly automated, then that's going to forever be out of reach. It will really just remain hot air. The other area that we see this in a lot is with temp businesses, actually. So I was chatting to a temp business based in Birmingham a couple of weeks ago. They were looking at swapping out their CRM. Absolutely integral to their businesses having a temp scheduler. And they were actually looking at another CRM which didn't have a temp scheduler as part of its offering. We spoke to them and eventually they signed with us. But what we had to make them understand was that if if you have a core part of your business that relies on, say, rostering or scheduling, if you're going with another CRM that doesn't give you that fully integrated as part of the CRM, then you'll forever be working with data that's not real time, or you'll be giving your consultants an excuse to stick using Excel. So think carefully about that one. Another thing to think about here is, and excuse the Halloween-esque copy here, but it's a eulogy to budgeting and ROI. So when I'm speaking to prospects or new customers, one question that I always ask is, how much are you spending across your recruitment tech stack every month or every quarter or every year, however you like it? Very, very, very rarely can anyone give me an accurate amount. They have to go scurry away, tot up invoices. They don't have a clear handle on their spend, and you can't blame them, because typically they're dealing with 5, 10, 15, sometimes many more different systems, and it's difficult to keep track of. In fact, now there are SaaS platforms out there whose sole purpose is just to track all of these different subscriptions that you guys are juggling. It becomes an absolute nightmare. So you're not sure how much you're spending. So that begs the more important question of, what's your ROI on your tech stack? You know what you're spending and you're not measuring it. How can you really track that? Which, as a business owner is a pretty scary prospect. You need a firm handle on exactly how much you're spending and what you're getting. Which leads me nicely on to another favorite of mine, which is when you've got that tech Frankenstack, got all these different systems you're using, all of your different contract dates are completely misaligned. Now, this is a killer one, actually. And if you were to take away one nugget from today, this is something that you can think about and perhaps action. Because I was chatting to a recruitment firm who are based in London. They were dying to get off their CRM. They'd been with them for quite a few years, but hadn't had particularly good service from them through COVID. They'd had enough and they wanted out. They were going to sign with VINNY, very keen to move off. But at the last minute, what they realized was that their analytics platform that they use alongside their CRM, they were locked in contract with that for another 2 years. Likewise, their pay and bill solution, there was another year left on that. So they were trapped. And this is something to be really, really careful with. If you're building out your Frankenstack, at a bare minimum, make sure that you get all of your contract dates lined up, because otherwise you might want to leave one platform and tough, you can't. You're locked in for 3 years against your will. And so that's something that you can action and perhaps have a look at your different contract dates and do something about that at your next renewal. Another one, of course, to think about is, when you're using your Frankenstack, especially if you're using multiple systems, think of the time and the resources that you're spending, not only in negotiating the deal through the sales process, 5 demos on one system, 5 demos on another, 5 demos on another, that's, it's days of demos. Do you really want to be doing that? But also once you've signed up with the different vendors, around training needs, around support, when there's upgrades, everything's out of sync and it's a lot more draining. And it's not as cohesive for you to manage if you're managing a slicker, smaller pool of vendors. And the final thing to think about here, and it's a big one really, it's not the most exciting danger of a Frankenstack, but it's pretty scary as well, is privacy. So think about GDPR. Remember 2.5 years ago when we were all scared of GDPR, and it was something that we were all actioning. If you've got different systems, and I see this a lot with websites and candidate and client portals in relation to your core CRM, if you've got sensitive candidate and client information sat in multiple systems siloed, that's just a GDPR time bomb waiting to go off. So you should be thinking about what's your real core system of truth, and having all data seamlessly feeding into that at a bare minimum. Okay. So if you think you might have a Frankenstack, here's 5 things to consider, and you can maybe see if you have a Frankenstack of your own. So number 1, easy one. How many different tools or tech vendors are you dealing with? If it's 5 or more, then watch out. You could be building a Frankenstack. If it's 10 or more, you're definitely building a Frankenstack. If it's 15 or more, you've got a Frankenstack on your hands, and you need to do something about it. Number 2 is a really biggie. So there's nothing wrong with using multiple tools, but what's important is that they speak to each other. So I keep coming back to this, but the idea of having your data moving between systems in two-way sync is so important if you want true automation. So have a think about the quality of how that data has been passed between your systems. If it's a one-way simple data push, it's not good enough. Number 3, telltale sign you've got Frankenstack, is you're spending big on integration and customization. Or maybe you've been sold the kind of dream of that kind of partner play Frankenstack, where here's the platform, now you go and build on it. That's great if you've got millions of dollars and a big tech team and you're a huge company, I get that. But beware of that if you're kind of a mid-sized company, or certainly less than 100 seats. It can be really costly and really dangerous for you. Telltale sign number 4, you don't know the total cost of what you're spending across your tech stack. And if you don't know what you're spending, how can you measure on ROI? And number 5, personal favorite, I see this a lot, is that you're afraid of your back office team. When I'm dealing with recruitment firm owners, typically, and they're extremely commercially astute people, very entrepreneurial and ambitious. But as soon as we get into the middle back office conversation, really digging into, well, how does your pay and bill system work? How does invoicing work? What are you doing with your leave expenses? How is that all functioning? They get very nervous and defer instantly to their back office team. So maybe a question you could ask yourself would be, if your back office, if your payroll team have left up sticks and left tomorrow, or if you had to cut back your back office team dramatically, what would you do? Do you have everything automated? Is it systemized so you could carry on without them? Okay. So have a think about those 5 signs of a Frankenstack. What I'm going to show you very quickly, though, is how we can help you. So, as mentioned, I work at VINNY. I've been with VinCherry since we started the business, which was 2012. I'm a recruiter, so worked in the UK and also out in Tokyo for Michael Page many years ago. Pretty much everyone here is a recruiter, actually. Our founder, Bernie, had a pretty successful recruitment firm in the UK before founding VinCherry. We're not a massive business. We're not small either. So we've got just over 1,300 customers. We've got about 80 people globally across 5 different offices. We're extremely R&D focused. Don't see ourselves as a big sprawling sales organization at all. We identify as a SaaS product-focused business, and our mantra here is customers first. So we have follow the sun support, 24/5. We're consistently ranked number 1 for support and ease of use. So this grid on the right-hand side here is from one of the peer-to-peer review sites. There's quite a few of them, G2 Crowd, Gartner. Have a look at them and see how we match up to some of our competitors. But from day 1, our vision was to slay the Frankenstack. Coming from a recruitment background, we've been through the pain of having running a business with lots of multiple systems, can never get real-time reporting, never really automate. It was painful. So the vision with VINNY from day one was to create a all-in-one platform that worked globally across all countries with zero customization required. So we like to say that we weaponize our recruiters through tech, and how we do that is by taking an inherently different approach to the recruitment tech stack. And quite simply, we don't let our customers customize themselves into corners. We want them having regular releases, and we don't let them build Frankenstacks. So what I've got on the screen here is basically an overview of our approach, the anti-Frankenstack, the anti-Salesforce approach. So what we give our customers is 5 key modules. So at the center of this diagram here, you can see what we started VINNY with, which was Vincere Core. So that's our CRM, it's our ATS, it's extremely pipeline focused. Ours is a very process-driven system. Then around that, you've got optional modules that you can plug in and out of VINNY as and when you need them. So you'll see we've got our pay and bill platform. So when we talk about pay and bill, we mean online timesheets, expenses and invoicing. We also have shift scheduling and rostering that we introduced relatively recently, as well as some other weapons that we give to you that you can then use with your customers. For example, apps, native Android and iOS apps, and as well a door clock. So you could use that as part of your offering for MSP, for example. We also give you Engage, which is candidate portals, client portals, and job portals, basically everything that you would have on your website. So it feeds directly into Vincere, eliminating that GDPR risk. We give you Vincere Comms, which is a live chat platform. It lives inside your mobile phone. It's quite unique, great for global teams, great for collaboration, basically. We put on top of everything, though, Vincere Intelligence. So for us, analytics are everywhere. And we think it's absolutely nuts that you should have to go to a third party to get basic, KPI analytics, goal analytics in real time. So we built that into the platform for you. On top of that, if you want to augment your Vincere experience, we also have a very carefully curated marketplace with what we believe are the best in breed integrations in the market that you will find. So for example, for telephony, we partner very tightly with Cloud Call, Daxtra, Sourcebreaker coming in soon, and Odro too. I know that some of those guys are on the sessions today. We're really picky about who we put in our marketplace because for us, integration shouldn't be kind of a tick box exercise. They have to work in two-way sync, and that takes money to build those integrations. So we are very careful about who we invest in those partnerships with. But customers like that because they know that in our marketplace, they're only going to get the best on the market. So that in a nutshell is our offering. That's very high level. We'd love to take you through Vincere and show you kind of what makes us different. So do connect with us. So we're big on Insta, and we're also big on LinkedIn, of course. So do connect with us. I put my URL in the sidebar. And we have another session coming up as well with our head of UK sales, Donna Owens, and that's going to be fabulous. It's talking about post-COVID KPIs in this strange and new world we find ourselves in. So I think I'm pretty much on time there, Louise. Look at that. So thank you ever so much, and I'll wrap it up there. Have a great day, everybody. Thank you.